Hi, I'm Ling, and I have a big dream. I'm from a small town where everyone knows each other, but I wanted to see the world and learn English because English is the most important language if you want to talk to people from all over the world. One day, I told my parents, I want to go to France to study and to learn English. At first, they were very surprised. My mom looked at me with worry in her eyes. She said, "Ling, it's very far and you will be alone. Are you sure?" I nodded and said, "Yes, Mom, I'm ready for this. I need to do it for my future." After a lot of thinking, my dad finally said, "Okay, Ling. We believe in you. Go and learn. Make us proud." My mom was a bit sad but hugged me tight. The day I left, she cried, and even my little brother looked sad. I hugged them, feeling both excited and scared. On the plane to France, everything felt new. I had never been in an airplane before, so I kept looking out of the window. I sat next to a kind lady who saw that I looked nervous. She smiled and said, "Are you traveling alone for the first time?" I nodded. She said, "You're very brave. If you need help with anything, ask me." The flight was long, but I was too excited to sleep. I kept thinking about my new life in France, the friends I would make, and most importantly, learning English. When I reached France, everything looked so different, the streets, the buildings, and even the people. They were all new to me. I took a taxi to my apartment, and when I got there, I was so tired that I threw my bags and shoes on the floor, just like I did at home. I thought I was alone, but then I heard a voice, "Hey, you must be Ling." I turned around and saw a girl smiling at me. Her name was Sarah, and she was my roommate. She laughed and said, "Ling, here we have to keep things tidy, okay?" I felt a little embarrassed but laughed with her. Sarah was kind, and we became friends quickly. She taught me many things about living in France, like how to buy groceries and where to catch the bus. I knew that France was an expensive place to live, so I looked for a part-time job. I needed to earn some money to help pay for my studies and my daily expenses. After a few days, I found a job in a small cafe nearby. My job was to serve coffee and clean tables. It was hard work, but I liked talking to people, even if I didn't know a lot of French. Many people in the cafe were friendly and happy to give me tips for learning English. One of my favorite customers, an old man named Mr. Pierre, told me, "Always listen carefully to how people speak. That's how you will learn pronunciation." I listened to him carefully and practiced every day. Everyone seemed to love Nutella. People ate Nutella on bread, on pancakes, and sometimes just by itself. It made me laugh because I never thought people could love one thing so much. I was also learning to cook because food in restaurants was very expensive. Sarah, my roommate, showed me how to make simple dishes. We often made pasta and salad because they were quick and easy. One thing that I loved about France was how safe it felt. Sometimes I came back to my apartment late at night, even at 2 a.m., and I didn't feel scared. It made me feel free, knowing I could explore and come home safely. After I settled into my apartment with my roommate Sarah, things began to feel a little easier. Sarah and I quickly became close friends. Every night, after we'd throw our bags and shoes around, we'd sit in the living room, chatting about our classes and life back home. She was from England, so her English was perfect. I told her my goal was to speak like that someday too. One of the biggest parts of my journey has been my English class at the university. Our teacher, Mrs. Taylor, is incredible. She's this friendly, encouraging person who always makes us feel comfortable. On the very first day, she said, "Learning English isn't about being perfect. It's about expressing yourself. Speak from your heart." I'll never forget those words. They helped me feel less nervous about making mistakes because I knew they were just part of the process. In every class, Mrs. Taylor would make English feel alive. She had us speak in pairs, listen to short English stories, and even play games. She told us, "The best way to learn is by using English as much as possible. Don't be afraid. Even if you only know a few words, use them. The more you speak, the more you'll learn." I began following this advice whenever I could, even practicing with Sarah at home. We'd talk about our day, the funny things our classmates said, and even our dinner plans, all in English. One day, Mrs. Taylor told us something that changed the way I thought about learning. She said, "Imagine you're a child. When children learn a language, they copy what they hear. Do the same. Listen to English, copy the sounds, and don't worry if it's perfect." I started watching short English videos with subtitles, paying close attention to how the words sounded. I repeated phrases quietly to myself, feeling a little silly at first, but knowing it was helping me. Mrs. Taylor had all sorts of creative ideas for learning. She gave us fun homework like picking 5 new words each day and using them in sentences. The first day I tried it, I picked words like delicious, enjoy, and amazing. I kept saying, "This food is delicious. I enjoy my English class." By the end of the week, I felt comfortable using these words without even thinking about them. Reading was another skill Mrs. Taylor encouraged us to practice. She suggested starting with simple books, maybe children's books, since they were easy to understand. She said, "Reading helps you learn new words, understand how sentences are built, and even practice pronunciation." I went to the library and borrowed a short book in English. At first, I had to use a dictionary for many words. But soon, I noticed I could read more and more without it. Every time I finished a page, I felt a little thrill of excitement. "I'm doing it," I told myself. "I'm really learning English." Besides reading, Mrs. Taylor encouraged us to listen to English music and watch movies. Movies are like real-life English lessons, she explained. You hear how people actually talk. That weekend, I watched Finding Nemo in English. I laughed, I understood some parts, and when I got lost, I just enjoyed the movie. Sarah joined me, and we both tried repeating some funny lines afterward. We'd laugh when our pronunciation wasn't perfect, but little by little, it was getting easier. One of my favorite ways to practice was singing along to English songs. Sarah and I would listen to Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift and try our best to keep up with the lyrics. It was a fun way to practice English without feeling like we were studying. Life in France wasn't all easy, though. I needed to handle my finances carefully. Living there was expensive, and I missed my family terribly. I remember one night after a long day at school and work, I was alone in the kitchen, staring at my phone, wishing I could see my mom's face. I missed her food, her warm hugs, even the way she'd say, "Ling, you're stronger than you think." But Sarah was always there for me. She reminded me that it's okay to miss home and that I wasn't alone. We're all in this together, she'd say. And it helped me feel less homesick. The part-time job I'd taken up was at a small cafe. It was my first job where I had to speak English with customers. The first week, I was terrified. My words would come out mixed up, and I'd often say things twice. But over time, it got better. One of my regular customers, a kind older woman named Anne, would smile at me every time she came in. She'd say, "You're doing great, Ling. Just keep talking." Her kindness made me feel less nervous, and soon I was able to handle conversations with ease. One night, Sarah and I stayed up talking about life, dreams, and all the small struggles we were facing. She told me, "You're so brave for coming here and learning a new language. Every step you take is bringing you closer to fluency." It was moments like these that reminded me why I was here. Learning English wasn't just a class or a job requirement. It was a key to my dreams. One day in class, Mrs. Taylor announced, "We're going to celebrate everyone's birthdays together in class." She said birthdays would be a perfect time to practice speaking English in a fun way. I thought it was such a lovely idea. Whenever it was someone's birthday, we would all bring small treats, sing happy birthday in English, and give speeches to celebrate. It was amazing because we all got to talk, make each other laugh, and learn new words. On my birthday, Mrs. Taylor even brought a little cake for me. Everyone sang, "Happy birthday, dear Ling." I felt so happy, and it made me feel like I had a new family here in France. Afterward, Mrs. Taylor gave us a short writing exercise. Each person had to write a birthday wish for me in English. It was wonderful to read everyone's wishes. Some were funny, some were sweet, and it helped us all practice writing in English. Mrs. Taylor had another interesting idea for learning. She introduced English Culture Day, where we would pick a theme related to English-speaking countries. One week, the theme was American Diner. She decorated the classroom with red and white colors and even brought in American-style snacks. She said, "Today we're going to practice ordering food in English as if we're in an American diner." We all took turns being the waiter or the customer, saying things like, "Can I have a burger, please? Would you like fries with that?" It was so fun. We laughed a lot, and it made learning feel like play. Another time, we had British tea time. Mrs. Taylor served us tea and biscuits, and we practiced polite British phrases like, "May I have some tea?" "Thank you, that's lovely." She explained that these small phrases would be helpful in daily life. It felt like a tiny trip to England right there in the classroom. Mrs. Taylor also had a very creative idea to help us with pronunciation. She brought in short tongue twisters for us to practice saying quickly. We tried phrases like, "She sells seashells by the seashore," and "How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?" At first, we all sounded funny, but as we repeated them, our pronunciation got better. Tongue twisters really helped us pay attention to each sound in English words. We'd laugh a lot, but it was surprising how much it improved our pronunciation. For vocabulary, Mrs. Taylor had a special trick. She called it Word of the Day. Every day, she'd write a new English word on the board and explain its meaning, how to pronounce it, and even give us a sentence using it. Then she'd ask each of us to use that word in our own sentences. One day, the word was delightful. She told us, "This means something that gives you pleasure, like, that cake was delightful." It was a great way to remember new words each day, and now, whenever I see something lovely, I think, "Oh, that's delightful." Mrs. Taylor knew it was sometimes hard for us to speak English naturally, so she made us play a game called English Conversation Jar. She had a jar full of small paper slips, each with a question like, "What's your favorite food?" Or, "Tell me about your dream vacation." We'd pick a slip and have to answer in English. It helped me feel more comfortable speaking because I could talk about things I liked or wanted to share. Every time I picked a new question, I felt more confident, and it slowly became easier to talk without overthinking. One day, Mrs. Taylor surprised us with a story writing project. She said, "Everyone loves stories, so why not try writing one in English?" She gave us a week to write a short story and told us, "Don't worry about making mistakes. This is for fun, not for grades." I wrote about a magical dog that could talk, and I had so much fun creating my little story. When I read it to the class, everyone clapped, and it made me feel so proud. Writing stories helped me put sentences together and use the vocabulary I'd learned in a creative way. Of course, Mrs. Taylor didn't forget about listening practice. She'd play short English conversations for us to listen to, like a conversation at a grocery store or a simple phone call. We'd listen carefully, and then she'd ask questions to see if we understood. This helped us get used to real English conversations, and I noticed I was starting to understand English a bit faster. One of my favorite listening activities was when Mrs. Taylor played us English songs. She'd give us the lyrics, and we'd try to sing along. My favorite song was Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis Presley. I loved singing along and focusing on each word, and it was a beautiful way to learn pronunciation and rhythm. As time passed, Mrs. Taylor gave us tips on talking naturally. She said, "Don't worry about speaking like a dictionary. Real English has lots of small phrases and slang." She taught us phrases like, "What's up?" instead of "How are you?" "No problem" instead of "You're welcome." And "Let's go." "See you later." These phrases made me feel more connected to everyday English. And there was something else I'll never forget. Mrs. Taylor said, "The best way to improve is by practicing outside of class." She encouraged us to find language exchange partners or talk with friends in English. She even organized a meetup with English students from other classes. I met a few new friends, and we started meeting every Friday to practice speaking together. At first, we were shy, but over time, our confidence grew. These small talks helped me practice English naturally, and they were really fun. Even when I wasn't in class, I was learning. I tried to speak English with my roommate Sarah and even practiced with people at my part-time job at the Café. Slowly, English didn't feel like a scary language, it became a part of my life. Each time I spoke, even if it was just a few sentences, I felt like I was taking one step closer to fluency. And so, my journey continues. There are hard days, of course, when I miss my family or feel overwhelmed, but every time I remember Mrs. Taylor's words, "Speak from your heart," I feel a little more inspired to keep going. One morning, Mrs. Taylor started our English class with a big, mysterious smile. She said, "Today's lesson is a surprise." Everyone got excited and curious. She handed out colorful hats and told us, "We're going to have a mini English carnival." Each of us had to wear a funny hat, pick a random character, and act out short, funny conversations in English. My character was a baker who couldn't remember how to bake a cake. I had to say things like, "Wait, do I need flour or flowers for this cake?" Everyone laughed, and I even laughed at myself. It made learning so much fun and helped me feel relaxed while speaking. Then something funny happened. One weekend, I was at my part-time cafe job, practicing my English with customers. One customer looked at me with a puzzled face when I asked, "Would you like some extra crème?" I accidentally said crème in a French accent instead of cream. We both laughed, and he kindly corrected me, saying, "It's cream in English." That small mistake turned into a fun memory. It taught me that mistakes are part of the learning process. Every little misstep became a stepping stone. One of my favorite memories was when Mrs. Taylor organized a cooking in English day. she said. Cooking together helps with listening and following instructions. We all gathered in the school kitchen to make English scones and sandwiches. She gave us instructions like: whisk the eggs, add a pinch of salt, and we had to repeat after her. There was flour everywhere. One of my friends even put salt instead of sugar in the scones. We laughed so much, and even though our food didn't turn out perfect, it was such a memorable experience. Plus, I learned so many new cooking words. There were also sweet, quiet moments. I started spending some time each day writing short letters to my family in English. I'd write simple things like, "Today I learned a new word," or "I miss our family dinners." These letters helped me practice my writing and feel closer to home. My mom sent me a letter back, trying out some English too. She wrote, "Ling, we proud of you." It made me feel so loved and motivated. I even started having dreams in English. At first, it was just small things, like hearing words in English while I slept. But one night, I dreamed I was back home in India, speaking English with my family. When I woke up, I thought, wow, maybe English is becoming a part of me. Finally, it was time for our last class with Mrs. Taylor. She brought us all together and gave each of us a little book. "This is your English adventure journal," she said. "You can write anything you want in it, goals, new words, favorite memories." She smiled at me and said, "Ling, keep writing, keep speaking, and keep learning." We all hugged, and some of us even got a little teary. It was hard to say goodbye. On my last day in France, I decided to take a quiet walk around the city. I thought about all the fun times, the challenges, and the friends I'd made. I remembered my first day here, feeling nervous and unsure. Now, I felt proud. I could understand English conversations, express myself, and most importantly, I wasn't afraid anymore. I felt like a new person. As I boarded the plane back home, I thought about how learning English had been so much more than just words and grammar. It was about connection, courage, and discovery. When I got back home, my family was waiting for me at the airport. My mom hugged me tight and whispered, "Welcome home, Ling." I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, I missed you so much." And there it was, the final piece of my journey. I had learned a language, but I had also learned to be myself. To laugh at my mistakes. To find joy in every step. So if you're learning English too, just remember this. Have fun. Make friends. Be brave. And never give up. Because each word, each moment, is a step forward on a wonderful adventure. And who knows? Maybe one day, you will be telling your own story in English.